This is my fall garden update. This little mini jungle here. In the front we have pepper plants. I've gotten one pepper so far, and there's a bunch of smaller peppers on there, so if the weather holds, I'm anticipating getting quite a few more peppers. And in the middle here we have cucumbers, and the cucumbers have been very prolific. I've gotten about 4 or 5 cucumbers, and there's quite a few more on, so I'll be able to get quite a few more cucumbers before the weather changes. In the back here, this is a yellow squash, and on the other side there's a zucchini, and in the back there's supposed to be a spaghetti squash, but I think that the yellow squash and the spaghetti squash kind of crossed and interbred, so I'm not sure I'm going to get any spaghetti squash this year. Here I have some lettuce that's going to seed. I'm going to save that seed and put it in my cold frame that I'm amending. And here in the front there's some carrots right there. And here we have 2 beet plants. Both of them I'm probably going to let go about another month or so before I really harvest them. They tend to do better and get sweeter as the weather gets colder. And here you can see I have my tomatoes. They've done real well. I've been picking tomatoes every day since about the first day of August to the current day. And maybe you can see I've got quite a few partially ripe ones on there right now. I've had a lot of smaller tomatoes, and some of the big ones are just starting to ripen now, so I've had enough larger ones to enjoy a couple of tomato sandwiches, and I anticipate some more in the near future. But I like to just snack on the little cherry tomatoes, and these little cherry tomatoes in the back, let's see if you can see some of them. They're called Sun Gold. They're kind of a yellow-orange cherry tomato, and they really have a very sweet, very tasty flavor. I'm really enjoying them. And here, this is the box cold frame that I'm amending. I've got some manure, and I'm going to add some manure and some leaves, and then rake it up and let it set for a few days, and then scatter those lettuce seeds in there and see if they'll grow. And here, that's a couple of basil plants that are doing real well. And in the front now, there's some celery, and I don't know if you can see it here, but there's some of those walking onions that I planted that are starting to grow. In amongst the weeds, I should pull some weeds. There's some more walking onions there. And here's another tomato plant that didn't do all that well. It really didn't produce much. But this other one here on the left is a red cherry tomato, and it's been quite productive. It's got some real good tasting cherry tomatoes. There's some walking onions there. And in amongst the weeds here, there's patches of mint that I've been trying unsuccessfully to kill. I have a recipe for a cucumber riata that basically uses cucumber, yogurt, a little bit of oil, and some cumin, and it calls for dried mint, but I've been using the fresh mint since I have fresh mint, and it seemed to work out pretty well. Over here there's another purple basil plant which has been quite productive, and a tomato plant which is not doing much, and another tomato plant over here which is not doing all that much either. I don't think either of these tomato plants get quite enough sun. It's probably limited their production. And one more basil plant there. And this flower that you can see in the back against the wall, I originally had planted it right next to the rose bush, and for some reason it just kind of moved over next to the ivy there, and so I guess that's where it wants to be. So that's pretty much the garden. I'm anticipating that this rose bush that's crept under the sidewalk will shoot up a couple more shoots, but it may take until next year till that happens.